Hey guys! So today we are not going to talk, not even a little. We are going to listen. We're going to listen to me and my coworker Veroon have a bit of a discussion of how he thinks about software development and the path to becoming a software developer, and then he shares a little bit about basically his journey from start to finish. Now, he started out as a designer in South Africa, and he has a very interesting story, I think. And actually, we got to talking so much that it became a two-parter. So hopefully you enjoy both of these videos and Veroon's story. Let's listen in.
But basically what I wanted to do here is, it's not that complicated. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your career so far, like how you started programming and like jobs and stuff and shit like that. That's pretty much it. So,
Okay.
And that's it really. So like, how long have you been coding for?
Working, I got my first job first full-time job was in 2011. I started working full-time, but I wasn't programming then. I was doing UX design.
UX design? So you were a designer first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually got my first job while I was part-time work. I was freelancing while I was doing my honors at university. And this one company, consulting company, this guy reached out to me from there, asked me if I could do their website for them.
Sky?
No, this guy.
This guy.
Yeah.
I was like, Sky, the network from the UK?
No, it's a South African.
That would have been a huge contract, dude. Oh,
Yeah, if they found me from like little old South Africa in Pretoria, that would be fucking crazy. Like, we want you. Why? I would have questioned it completely. Like, are you sure? But like this guy, I'm actually trying to remember how I ended up getting his contact details. I think it was through somebody. So I did a fix for them for one thing once. And he was really happy with the way I worked. And then he asked me if I would do redesign their website for them.
Yep.
So I did that. And after I did that he told me, do you want a job? So I didn't interview, nothing. He's just like, here, you want a job? Here, it's for you. So my first two jobs I actually never really interviewed for. So that was the first one, which I kind of just like, cool.
See, now you're fucking this up for me. Because now you're basically proving that these weird moonshot situations can actually occur.
Well, no, it was only...
Because normal people, you know, they go to school and they learn things, and then you have these people like you, like who just, I just stumbled on a banana peel, and here's the money.
It wasn't quite, like, so I was studying multimedia. So I was doing programming and design. And so, like, I cannot remember how I got introduced to it. Because it wasn't like I posted something on, you know, some freelance board or anything like that.
Okay.
It was through somebody. So it was definitely one of those cases of, because I knew somebody who this guy knew, then he's like, oh yeah, he can fix that for you, type thing.
Yeah.
And it was just because of the way I did that first bit of work that he was really, really happy. So he's like, look, I'm looking for people, would you come work for me? And I got that first job. That was at Logical Consulting. And then my first position with them was at a bank called Absa Bank. So they needed.
So it was a consultancy.
Yeah, it was a consultancy job.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. Contracting job, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
They just class it up with consulting. You're a contractor. That's what the fuck you do.
That's what I like to do the same thing when, you know, if I tell you that, I'm going to do some research, what I'm actually doing is that I'm going to Google and I'm putting shit into the search engine, but I use that word because it sounds better.
Yeah, you can't just say I'm Googling stuff.
Yes.
Although everybody knows. No, anybody who's doing code, like, I'm doing research, you fucking Googling.
You would be surprised at how good my bullshitting skills are in like a meeting room with people who make 3 times my salary. Like, it's so easy to just throw in a few technical terms that sound really nice, and you know.
And of course, because they earn 3 times more, they don't want to seem dumb. Like,
of course, that sounds
yeah,
right.
yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds completely credible. Yeah, research, of course. Yes, but so that's basically it. You kind of stumbled into this whole thing as you started as a designer, and then you had some basic coding skills, so like you knew some code, and then you got your consulting gig, and then you started working for a bank.
Yeah, so it wasn't so the multimedia degree, the way it was structured at Tux when I did it, you do everything the computer science guys do. So it's like a full computer science degree without the maths.
Okay. But then you are a computer.
Yeah, you're a programmer. Because I did in our final year, you do the the final year project for computer science, and you have the multimedia one as well.
Yeah.
So you have to do
Fuck
both.
the math. Like, how much math are you going to use when you're coding?
That's the thing.
It's like basic algebra at best.
So at university though, you have to do calc first and second year.
Oh, great.
And then third year, you had to choose. Like, if you're really into it, you could take mathematics electives. I think the one which kicked some of my friends' ass was WTS. I can't remember what the name of the thing is. I know Shams had to do it as well when she was doing, because she has a computer science degree as well.
Uh-huh.
So she
Your
had
wife.
to. Yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
So she had to do that same thing. It's crazy maths, and like I hated maths because when I started at university, I got accepted for fine arts degree and computer engineering.
Okay.
So it was quite varied, and I never knew about multimedia before that. So when I got into computer engineering, it was the first time I did programming was at university as well, because we didn't have programming at my high school and that kind of stuff. So I liked working with computers and doing the hardware part of it. That's why I went into computer engineering.
Yeah.
Then I got exposed to programming for the first time. It was C as well, which was, an interesting thing to learn. But I liked the way you think with it, that kind of logical approach. So I was like, oh, okay, this really seems fun for me. I didn't enjoy the other aspects of computer engineering. Maths, fucking hated it. Calculus is a piece of shit. Like, I fucking hated it. And the other thing they do there is, when you do engineering degrees, the first 2 years is shared across the board. Like, all engineers do basically the same thing.
Yeah, so do you start out as one big lump of people?
Yeah,
and
then you specialize as you go further on. So I had to do, luckily computer engineers didn't have to do chemistry, but I still had to do physics, all that kind of stuff. I was doing mechanical engineering, like mechanics. I had to do mechanics in first year. I was like, I'm not working with these kind of forces. What is wrong with you people? Are you working with tons and fulcrums and stuff? Like, I'm not building anything that's going to do this. Why am I learning this shit? So that was fucking weird. But then at my end of my first year, I was like, nah, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I found about the multimedia degree, which was graphic design and programming. It was like, this is bang in the middle of what I wanted, what I enjoyed doing when I got to university.
It sounds like the course that is going to groom you into a front-end developer.
So a lot of guys, like from the guys I studied with, a lot of them go, because you do front end dev as part of it.
Yeah.
You do Java, you do design patterns and stuff in C++. So you do like proper programming. So guys went into UX design, front end programming, 3D modeling, full back-end architecture. Like, it's quite varied.
I will like just declare, right, I will elaborate on what I meant when I was saying that you're becoming a front-end developer. You're actually, like, I'm using that term in the way that I wanted to be, is you're actually learning how to program and you're learning graphic design skills. You are not basically learning some basic JavaScript, CSS and HTML, and then that's you being a front-end developer. You're actually learning how to structure things, architecture, things of this nature, the thing that actually makes you a good programmer.
So we did a lot of that, and like we did, this was quite a while back. We were doing Flash. So I learned
Flash.
We actually had to, we built a game for like the final year multimedia project is building a game. So we used it was a 2D engine for Flash for physics. I think it was Box 2D was the name of it. So we used that, and then we actually built the game in ActionScript, which I loved ActionScript at that point. I really enjoyed it because it was such a nice way to get your UI and your code connected. It was like Visual Studio. Like, it was that kind of thing. Like when you're using ASP.NET, like, click a button. This is what the button does, type thing. It was pretty cool for that. So
I mean, the packaging of Flash. I don't think anybody's gonna say that Flash. Okay, it's honestly, to me, I hope that we will go a similar route with Flash. Well, not exactly the same way, but with WebAssembly and similar sort of things, because it is very nice for you to actually have a first-class citizen type of experience when you're developing something that is like, this is a proper UI. This is the same thing you would do if you went to native or mobile or something like that. It's not you trying to figure out how to fit like HTML and like kind of make it feel native-ish. It's a first-class citizen, and you have this little box that you load onto the page, and hey, there is your your more native feeling experience rather than something that is web oriented.
Plus, I think, like, considering HTML was for document presentation. We use it for applications now because of the power of JavaScript that provided.
Yes.
If you compare it to what Flash applications was, they were applications.
Yes.
They were built from the ground up to be an interactive application, not like sticking some functionality onto a markup language which was used to represent documentation. Like it's evolved into that with Web 2.0 and well, I guess it's Web 3.0 now with WebGL and that kind of stuff.
It's still evolving.
It is.
I'm gonna be the first person to say to you that the web is winning the client dominance thing. Like mobile has no shot, not a chance in hell to deal with this, because what I'm saying is that the browser is basically now becoming, or it's trying. I'm not going to say it's trying to become, but it's very quickly becoming a universal platform for all forms of application. It's like an old coworker said to me that he, back in the day, he was in the early days, he and his coworkers were completely in line on that. The browser is very quickly becoming the operating system. Like it's basically just becoming this universal platform that all you consume all digital content through.
I mean, that's true. The fact that we have Chrome as an operating system, I mean, that's
exactly.
Like, yeah, your browser does everything that you want. Okay, cool.
And this was him like in the 80s. So I mean,
Whoa, okay.
I mean, so they were way ahead of the curve here. So and I agree. Like it's just a matter of time before you will be playing some high quality games and things of this nature in the browser, because there's no other point to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can load it as internet speeds gets faster, like the ability to not have to have everything on your machine, but just like what Stadia, Google Stadia is trying to do with streaming games, that kind of stuff. It's not there yet. The technology isn't there yet because you still have input lag and that kind of stuff.
But I definitely, but I would also say that you have the performance aspect of like rendering out more heavy computation oriented work, such as graphics and stuff of that nature. WebAssembly is an attempt to do something like that. But if you look at this in combination with something like service workers and offline first type of mindsets and progressive web applications, I don't really see why. I mean, we're talking about that the browser would be a very thin layer on top of basically machine code, and that's kind of the idea. So what I'm stating is that it's not that far away from us being able to just run all of the things through the browser. I mean, if you look at, I think, is it Figma, like the design tool? Like they are actually, they're using...
I think it's an Electron-based app. So it's a web app, and then they just wrap it in a launcher for desktop.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Electron. I'm under correction on that, but it's basically the web app runs on your desktop.
Yeah, but Slack does the same thing. Slack is also, but what I'm talking about that is a graphics design tool. It is something that is designed to actually allow you to do design work. It could be a native. You can have it as a native application, but you can also run it on the web, and it combines the two, which I think is absolutely beautiful. So you create all the panels and like the different buttons and selectors and like the frame of your canvas within the web platform, because it's very easy to make all of these things in the web. And then for the actual rendering out of graphics and drawing boxes and doing all of this interaction, that's a perfect fit for WebAssembly. Or if you're going to be that person, you can do it with the canvas enablement and WebGL, but I'm not sure we're going to go down that route.
Yeah, I don't know WebGL well enough to like I've seen it, I've played around with it like a little bit, but to build an application in WebGL, there's maths involved in that, because you have to do you're working with vectors when it comes to designing your interface and that kind of stuff, and I don't really want to deal with that. Like for me, like working with HTML is a lot easier, and then just select pieces with the canvas, and you can use the maths around that there. But HTML is very easy for like just building up your view, because I mean that's what it's for. It's like it's marking up a document, so
yep,
it's a lot easier to do that.
But basically what you're saying to me is that you did a proper computer science course, and so you misled me, my friend, because I was like, oh shit, this guy basically didn't have any education and he just got a computer job.
That was not my intention.
No, because that's what I saw. Like I was shit. I retract my apology for stating. I still have not to this day met. I've heard stories of people who have been able to just magically get a coding job without any prior experience, and then just have the employer pay for everything basically, which I've never seen that. Never, ever.
You know, Nope.
I've met self-taught people. Like I usually say that you can pretty much bet on that if you want to be a programmer, if you want to actually survive in this industry, you're looking at a personal education investment of 1 to 5 years, roughly. That is the time it takes. Less time than that is almost impossible to get a job.
Well, like, I mean, if I think about what I learned in university, like, you know, data structures and that kind of stuff, that's applied. But if you look at, like, when I was learning Java, it was 1.4, and, you know, like...
1.4?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm old, man.
You're
I'm fucking old.
dude. Whoa, my God.
Yeah, because it was 2006, I think.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, that was when the first
1.4.
year. I think it was 1.4, yeah.
Yeah.
1.4.
I would have understood 1.5, but 1.4 is a long time.
I'm gonna correction, but I think it
Yeah,
was
no.
1.4.
It's fine. If it was
It was
1.4,
fucking long ago, so I'm just like, for some reason that seems to be in my head. Like when I started working, then we're using 1.6.
Yeah.
That was what
1.5, 1.6, 1.7. That's usually the range.
Yeah. But like, so that was the other part that was kind of, so I started EPSA, we do the UX work, and they had a backlog that we had to get through.
The bank.
The bank.
Yeah.
So EPSA bank, doing UX design and that kind of stuff. Then we finished through the UX backlog, and banks are kind of slow to adapt, so it's not...
I have noticed.
I spent maybe 2 months literally coming to work and doing fuck all. Like, I would get to work and had no work to do. And I just had to go to work because they wanted you in office.
You need to be there.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to say that I was not that bad, but I was in a very similar sort of situation where I fucking did pair programming with my coworker because I was bored. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, in that job, I was the front-end guy. So I could basically dish out the part that I was supposed to do, and there was not really all that. Like, I don't know. They seemed to really like to keep me in a corner there because I really wanted to learn the other stuff, but there wasn't really much. Exactly. Stay in your fucking corner.
Yeah.
You there. You.
Front-end only.
Yeah, front-end only. Do only front-end. I'm like, okay, but it took me like a half a day to make this tooltip box here. And they have 2 weeks. Like to build everything else.
Well, at least you were in the case of, you know, you did something quickly. Like, it wasn't a lot, but you had something to do. When I say I had nothing, look, I would come in and watch videos because I couldn't work on anything else. The backlog was done. They didn't have any work for us.
Wow.
I was questioning the bank, like the manager. Why am I here? You spending money on me to come in every day. I'm doing fuck all. Look, why am I here? It makes no sense. So that went on for about a month and a half, 2 months, I think. And then we're like, okay, cool. We need help on the dev backlog. Can any of you guys program? So there were 3 of us, and then the head of UX. 3 guys working there. So.
But you were doing full-time design work now.
Yeah, I was only doing design work.
Only design. Can anybody code? This is beautiful.
No, that's like
you are fucking desperate if you're going to the design department and looking for coding skills.
Yeah, we just because we had no work.
Yeah,
like, can you guys code? That. Like, you know, because we were trying to find something else to do.
Okay.
Then I was like, yeah, I can do Java dev. I can code. Then I went from front end design to full on back end services development. I was like no UI, nothing, just services, back end services, in Java. So I started doing that, and it was kind of weird because when I started work. A friend that I studied with, he was also looking for work at the time. So I kind of told the guys, yeah, I vouch for him. And like, yeah, no, he's good. He knows what he's doing. So I brought him. We started working at the consultant company together. And then we went to EPSA Bank together. So he continued working as a UX designer because he didn't enjoy the coding aspect of it.
But he did know how to code.
He could code. He could do Java. And then, so we both started doing the code stuff. I enjoyed it a bit more, so I stuck with it. Him, the first chance to like, okay, we got more design. We're like, fuck it, I'm out of here. Like, he's just like, nope, I'm not doing services anymore. This is not for me. So I stuck through with that. And then while I was doing that, it was so where I was seated was near the front end team, and one of the guys from our consultancy company, he was brought in because he was an expert on the framework that we're using.
Which was, I'm assuming, Spring.
No. So their front end, it was really interesting technology, right? So it's called...
No, this was front end, not Java.
Yeah, this was front end.
Front end.
I know, and we weren't using Spring, we were using EJB3.
EJB3, okay.
Yeah, so we had EJB3 backend with services exposed, but not JSON RESTful services. And it wasn't SOAP services, it was RESTful XML services.
Oh.
because the technology they were using, it's called Backbase, was the framework.
Okay.
And Backbase at that point in time, I think now it's JSON RESTful service, but at that point in time, Backbase was actually being, the way they would generate pages was you would get a payload from the server side. In fact, I guess REST isn't the right word for it. And you would use XSLT to generate your HTML from that XML payload. It was very weird. Like, the fact that they were doing, like, it was this fucking thing that they were running, and I could not for the life of me understand, like, there's so many other standards that you could use. Like, and they paid a lot for this framework. So they brought in this guy who was an expert in Backbase. He helped write the framework, actually, if I remember correctly.
Oh, what a nice coincidence.
Yeah. So he was brought in to help the front end devs and stuff, and I worked. We were from the same consultancy company. So
we
then,
should do this, dude. We should make a really shitty framework and then sell it into some organization that will never go back on their decision.
Yeah, and I guess the guys from Backbase were genius from it. They're a Dutch company. The guys who made Backbase. I can't remember what the company name was.
But probably not say that loud. We don't want to cost them any business.
No.
Yeah.
Not going
Yeah.
to they still are in business. So Backbase is a framework designed specifically for bank apps, if I remember correctly. That's what they sold them on. It was designed for banking. So yeah, they were using Backbase, and then I was chatting to him and speaking to the front end team. So I was kind of like, understanding how the system worked a bit more. And then I started helping out with just like random stuff, like not coding, but like, I'd hear a discussion like, oh no, we need to achieve this kind of thing. Like, how do we make it look like this? And then I'm like, I'll just chime in like some stuff which I know about CSS and how to do these things here from what I learned at university. So then that got me more interested in like doing front-end design, front-end dev again. So then I worked there for about a year and a half. I had an issue with the company.
At the bank.
At the bank. So I had an issue with the company that I was working for, the consultancy company, because they were doing some shady shit, which I found out about. Like, the one dude was, he was from India, and the company told him, he told the bank that, oh, he has to go back to India to sort out his visa. So they didn't cancel the contract for him. They kept it, like, I think they put it on hold, or I don't know what the agreement was. But they said it'll take 3 months to sort out his visa. That 3-month period, he was still in South Africa. He was working for another client. So I found out, I'm like, that's not good business ethics. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
So they were ripping off one of the customers.
Yes. I think that the contract was, they weren't paying full price for him, but they were paying a price to keep the contract active. So they weren't ripping them off completely on his cost, but they were still ripping them off. So I found out about this here, and then there was some other shit which are like, yeah, screw them out, guys. So then I went to a company called, another contracting house called Intellect. And this was a funny interview because, so I found them on LinkedIn, I think it was. I think like they sent me a message like, hey, we saw your profile, we'd be interested if you come in for an interview, whatever. So I went there, and this was around, I think April. It was the end of April. So I went there for the first interview, and the interview was literally the guy asked me like, so what do you want to do in life? And it was just this long chat that I was like, I was telling him like, oh no, like I like trying to do like, a bit of everything, like, that jack of all trades, master of none. Like I don't really believe that. I think you can master everything to a degree.
Of course you can. It's all about investment and like in personal interest.
Yeah. So for me, like I don't want to like only do back end or only do front end or only do like
Leonardo da Vinci managed just fine. So
yeah. And I think you're the best kind of developer if you can do that. Like, if you have a solid understanding of all those aspects, you can immediately spot when like, this doesn't feel quite right. We should probably look at this here.
Your brain starts working in a different way. You can see patterns. You can already know how everything's going to turn out.
Yes.
Because you know what all the parts are going to fit, how they're all going to fit together.
And I think for me, because I think I'd like to become like an architect or something later on.
Which is this is like I have a friend of mine who is an architect. He came out of university as an architect. I haven't never told exactly. I gave.
How the fuck did you do that?
I asked him the same thing. How the fuck did you become an architect when you literally just came out of school? Because in my very humble mind, a programmer who knows nothing about coding, has never written a single line of code professionally, might not be the first person you're going to ask how you're going to set up your infrastructure, or how you're going to make sure that all the teams are going to maintain their productivity as the company scales. That's usually the sort of thing that you give to such a person as you're describing, an individual who actually understands not only the industry but also how the different departments are going to work, and what their dependencies are going to look like, and their challenges.
Plus, I mean, books only give you so much of information. You only
There
learn
is
that kind of stuff.
I argue to this day, there is no fucking way that you can study to become an architect.
No.
There's not a single book there who will teach you how to do this well.
Yeah.
You have to learn it through experience.
Because there's so much of stuff is like, oh, in theory, this is how it happens. In practice, it never happens like that.
I can give you like quarks, I can give you Microsoft, I can call these things different things, and I can show you a very nice flow chart that, oh, this is how everything's going to fit together. But the problem is that that's just a very general, like, guideline mindset type of thing to sort of how this is going to work, and then you can understand the benefits and the consequences. But for you to, if you copy paste such a solution, you're going to fuck up your entire company, because your company has a certain way of working. You need to understand the company and then figure out, oh, which architecture is going to fit this company. Because if you're just going to say, well, we're going to do microservices, you don't know that that's going to fucking work.
I'd actually be worried if your company could just take a solution and like plug it in and work.
Yeah.
Like, either you're not doing anything innovative, you're just like some generic fucking thing which, like, yeah, any solution would work here. I would reevaluate what are you doing, what value are you actually bringing in that scenario.
Yep, for sure. And it's for me, there's three things within IT that I argue that can't be, like, you cannot study to become it. You have to get mentored. You have to actually learn it on the job. This is one thing. Architecture, it's impossible to like just learn it through books. And the second thing is security. You are not going to become a hacker by learning, just reading books. You actually need someone to help you to like actually test out your skills and do these sorts of things. It's a practical field. And lastly, it's going to be operations and infrastructure, things of this nature. You can sit on your laptop and like spin up a box, a virtual machine, but setting up auto scaling, setting up different considerations, access rights, all of the things that are, I mean, this is basically what our engineering success team are doing. Like, without the company that has all these needs and issues, you don't even know what you're gonna, like, there's no way for you to figure out, oh, I should probably learn about these things or those things on your own. It's you have to actually do it.
So, I mean, it's easy to just like, like AWS Lambda, for example. This is the biggest one, the biggest size VM you can get.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll just spin that up.
Cool.
You're wasting resources.
Yeah.
You have no way of how to optimize that without the practical experience.
First question is, okay, how do we reduce our costs with this? Or like, how do we, like, these sorts of things, like how can we optimize it so we don't pay as much? How are we going to do with logging, monitoring, uptimes, alerts, like all these things? There are so many different things that you would simply not think about if you're a beginner trying to learn this. You can learn the basics. I mean, shit, anybody can learn how to spin up a virtual machine using a button on an interface. That's not that hard, but like to do all the other stuff, that's very tricky. But so I feel that you and I have a very similar sort of thinking here. Like you and I have the same thing. Like I really do enjoy learning all the things because I've never been able to pick. I can't decide. I'm very indecisive. Like I just want to do everything, and that's been serving me well so far. But for you, you kind of didn't feel all that happy with that consultancy, so you moved over to the next one, and this interview, like basically all you're saying is that they asked you, what do you want to do in life?
I had no technical interview. It was just a personality thing.
No technical interview.
Nothing
Oh my god.
So yeah,
That sounds pretty sweet. I think there's quite a lot of developers who would have loved to just have the personal interview.
Yeah, like I don't know why, because
it's like standard practice to have.
it is,
a
and
test.
so I got the job, and then I ended up going to I got placed at a company called Discovery. So this huge insurance company in South Africa. I had a technical interview when I went to the client. So I had an interview with the team lead from Intellect there, and
okay, so the consultancy didn't check you, but the client did.
The client had a requirement for that. But I already
probably
got
a good idea.
Yeah, so the client had but that was also, I think it was half an hour, and I got maybe 3 technical questions, and they weren't even that difficult.
No,
It was more
but
like-
better that than the fucking weird bullshit they're trying to pull in all the other fancy IT companies where, oh shit, you have a week to complete this technical task, or here, come to us, our company, and code with us for half a day. What the fuck, dude? I have another job. Like, I'm doing shit. Like, you have 30... I'll give you an hour, a lunch, to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Or you can go and hire somebody else.
The one thing which I heard about that practice, which some companies are really bad with, is they actually give people like, oh, we need somebody to build this thing here for us. All right, we'll make it an interview question. We get some people to fucking like open source it. So they try and get like free work from interviewees, which is, I've seen on Reddit like some people post about this thing. Like, it's not a standard question. It's kind of very specific to their business. Like, yeah, I think they're fucking trying to use you for free labor, dude. Don't fucking do it and avoid them at all costs. So yeah, that was some scary stuff. But at Intellect, it wasn't. That for me was the best decision I made in my career, joining Intellect. So I was there for 5.5 years with the consultancy company, with them, and I think about 3 years of that was at Discovery, at that first client I went to. So I did the interview with the team lead, Doug, and Veroon, the architect, for that division.
Mm-hmm.
And the team lead was from Intellect, so he was bringing in people for that team. So my first day at the consultancy place, I get to the consultancy. My second day, I'm at the client. Like I that was it. That was my exposure to being in-house at Intellect. I was pretty much like a Discovery employee because I spent all my days there. I worked with that team more, even like our year-end parties.
Which
and
is
stuff.
usually how it works. That's why consultancies, as I always argue, that's a very cutthroat business. I mean, you're basically you're making money off of having developers and having them out on the job. Like, it's not something that you necessarily is going to breed.
Usually that's true, but I would argue in Intellect's case, they put a lot of effort into training up and bringing up your skills. That's why I said, like, for me, that was the best move in my career, was going to a company, because I learned so much from them.
From the consultancy.
From the consultancy.
They must have been, because you know that the
norm is you get placed at a client and then that's what
they
you like.
basically just try to sign you and then they
Yeah.
send you out on your own. If you fuck up, they're gonna get you, kick you out and get somebody else.
Yeah.
That's,
No, this place, they put
They
a
took
lot
it-
of effort onto
That's
upping
really
the skills
nice.
of the, we actually, I would say they had one of the best graduate programs that I've seen.
so they took on juniors as well.
Yeah, they had. This was a bit further because the company was growing at a really fast rate. So when I joined, I think we were about 60 people. At the time I left, 5.5 years later, there were over 600.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and they bought a company now in Netherlands. So they're expanding international. And
But
they have,
that, I want to believe that has to do with that practice and that policy.
no, when it comes to that kind of thing, they're very good. So the graduate program was really cool for. So I didn't go through it, but I trained some people in the program. So they would start off. Your first 6 months is boot camp. So for 6 months, you're not being placed at a client, not doing anything. You are learning industry level practices because you come from a university which doesn't quite match. So you're learning from people who work in the industry how the industry runs. So you're getting like, oh, this is how you work with SQL properly. And we had, for that, one of the top SQL developers in the country. I would say she's world-class level, Gail. Like, insanely fucking smart. Really blunt though, so she scared the shit out of the fucking grads. Because if they made a mistake, she would like, no, that's fucking stupid. Like, she would just call them out straight like that. She was amazing. Scared the shit out of them. But, like, if they had a SQL question, genuinely, 90% of the grads were scared to ask her. Which is probably not good in your teacher, but they still went to ask her because all of the guys at the company told them, like, look, if you have a question, ask her. If you're being stupid, she's gonna call you out on it, but that's just the price you have to pay. If you want to learn this, you have to go to her. She's the best person like you would find to learn from. So they learned SQL in that. They learned Spring. They learned ASP.NET and design patterns and stuff, which industry and how Agile works properly.
So for anybody who's listening, that should probably be the short list of everything I've been saying since day one on this little channel.
Yeah.
So let's see how. So Java, relational database,
Yeah.
C#, which is .NET, of course,
Yeah.
or ASP in this case, and agile work practices.
Yes.
That sounds pretty much like the standard setup for pretty much every single consultancy that I should know of.
Yes, I mean that's the general uses for most companies, so that's what they cover.
Exactly, because these are this is usually the stack that most large corporations use. Like,
so you're on a job, learn that.
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
get a job easily.
You want a job, learn these things.
So they do that for 6 months, and then the next 6 months they place at the client.
Yeah.
For free. The client does not pay for a grad to come in. After that 6 months period, the client chooses whether they want to keep the grad there, and then they like start working.
So it's a trial.
It's like a trial thing.
Yeah.
I would say 95% of the grads stay at the client because the clients are generally really happy with what they're able to deliver and stuff. And all of the grads that I met, there were like 1 or 2 each year that would leave for another company or try something else out, you know, which I think is within a certain norm.
You kind of expect that, but you see, this is the thing that I have as an issue with companies on this topic. Like what this consultancy, they fucking get it. Like, if you want, you can try to lure in the seniors, you can try to do all this stuff, but you're a fucking consultancy. Your overhead cost is like nothing. You want people. Yeah. If you train them, some of them are gonna fuck off because that's why a lot of companies are afraid of that. That's why you don't want to train the juniors, because it's costed to train a junior, it's costed to train the juniors, and they might fuck off. That's a bad investment, right? Wrong, because if you train them and you actually treat them well and so forth, and they enjoy working there,
they'll stay.
They will stay.
Yeah.
They will stay.
And Intellect has, I'd say, over the years, quite a high retention rate. Because I mean, I was there for 5
If you go from 60 to 600 people in that amount of time, I would say you're doing something right.
Because I was there for 5.5 years, and I only left because I'd gotten to a point in my career where, like, being in a consultancy wasn't going to work for me. Because, like, when you contract it out, you're not going to get into like being an architect or those kind of stuff.
No, and you're also, I would say, treated as a temp. Like even if you're actually there, you might not get the same level of investment or personal development.
With Discovery, they were heavily invested with Intellect. So the team that I was
but that because of the relationship.
Because of the relationship.
Okay, so
between
they
the
had
company.
okay, that's a different story.
Because like the team I was with, it was all Intellect devs. like
well, that doesn't count. That doesn't count because like you know there are quite a lot of consultants. They like you're like an island inside of
with the Discovery relationship, Intellect kind of came in and like, oh, we're taking over this motherfucker. Because at one point, so I was in the Vitality International team, so it's a product that they sold internationally.
Yeah.
And then there was a Vitality RSA team, which is.
But what was Discovery doing?
Discovery is an insurance company.
Insurance. Okay, so it's just insurance.
It's health insurance and life, that kind of stuff.
All right.
But Vitality was a wellness program that they developed.
Okay.
So Vitality was. The business aspect of it was you get people encouraged to live healthier. They claim less from health insurance. You know that's where why they did it. But it was actually a pretty good wellness program. Like you got benefits on. So the idea was you would get points if you go to the gym, if you had a no smoking declaration, you did your yearly checkups, that kind of stuff. So they encourage you to live a healthy lifestyle. And the reward for this for the end consumer was you get points which you can use as discounts at certain partners. So Vitality started selling that product internationally. So we started off when I joined, they were with Prudential Health in UK.
It almost sounds like a humanitarian piece. This
kinda like I do believe in what they were doing. Like obviously they're not just doing it for the goodwill of it.
Yeah,
there's
I was
a
about
business
to say
value to
like,
it,
if
right?
it was like an insurance company behind the whole thing, it's kind of like if the cigarette industry starts running a health organization, it sounds great.
But there's something.
There's something's going on here.
Yeah. So the truth is, like, I don't think anybody thought it was off the goodwill of the heart. Like, you knew why they were doing it, right? But the fact that it worked and helped people was still a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Okay, I had this discussion with Hongxiao the other day. Like I was saying that, some people believe that good should only come from the goodness of somebody's heart, but that's not just not true. You can do good for selfish reasons. That's kind of the whole basis of capitalism. So it's like,
I don't think there's anything wrong if you make a profit of doing a good deed. You're still doing a good deed.
Yeah,
Making a problem of it
I'd like to think that, sorry, the humanitarian in me will just say that, yeah, as long as you're you can't fucking go greedy with it. Like,
No.
If you find the cure for cancer and you're going to charge people $10,000 a pill, and
Yeah.
you need 70 of them before you survive, there's a sweet spot.
No, yeah, they definitely is. But like in this case, it didn't really cost the user anything. Because I think membership was free. It was just like a sign-on thing. Because the actual benefit was they claim less. That was what they were aiming for. So yeah, so I worked with on Vitality. So my team, the international team, was all devs. When I started, the Vitality RSA team was maybe 50-50. By the time I left, the manager for RSA was an intellect employee. So it was kind of like, yeah, they just came and took over that entire fucking thing. They were really good with that because of, and I think it comes back to the amount of training and stuff that they put into the employees.
Yes.
Because apart from the bootcamp thing, so I got a lot from there because we used to have beer and tech Thursdays. So you get into a room and somebody would do a presentation. One of the employees would do a presentation about something they're interested in, and you just have a couple of beers and you talk about it.
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah, that sounds about like what it should be.
Yeah.
Was it the consultancy here? They thought that they were really pushing it. They were a traditional consultancy where I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but they had one guy come down every other month to do a short presentation on something that he had done. Like, this one dude who's apparently a little bit of an architect. And I kind of went, oh, what did you have last time? Oh, he came down and showed us React. Right. No, thank you. This is not for me.
So no, this one here was really cool because it encouraged people to look more into something that they had a bit of interest.
Yeah.
And they gave you company time to work and stuff like this as well, which was also really cool. You got 2 hours a week? An hour a week. It was like 2 hours every second. You got 2 hours every second week, so it worked out an hour a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one way they encouraged stuff. They encouraged you to present at conferences and stuff. They would buy you tickets for conferences. So I went to a lot of South African dev conferences because they encouraged us to go out and learn what people are talking about. I mean, I went to...
this is how you breed high-quality developers.
No, you
and for a consultancy, this actually converts to money because that means that if you have good developers and they're social, they're the outgoing people, and they are actually in tune with what the rest of the industry is, that's going to shine through on-prem when you're actually working.
Yep. So, I mean, that speaks why Discovery was comfortable. Like, yeah, they're taking over the team. Fine. The quality they deliver is amazing.
Because exactly like that. Because you can feel the difference. You can feel the difference between somebody who literally only does this shit, like, not even that well, for the paycheck. They don't give a shit about anything. They have no passion, no fire, no nothing. And someone who actually genuinely cares. Mm-hmm. And usually those are the sorts of people you want around because they will actually produce better quality.
Yeah. So they definitely push that. And I think I learned a lot from the company and a shitload more even from my team lead when I was at Vitality, Doug. So when it comes to agile processes and that kind of stuff, I just absorbed as much as I could from these people because I really liked the way that team that I worked at was hands down the most effective agile team I've ever worked on. And it got to a point where we were delivering ahead of schedule almost continuously. We could take off one day in the sprint to work on innovation projects. Every sprint we could do that. Every second Friday in the sprint, the entire day was dedicated to something that we wanted to try within the product. So you know like how we have the mini hackathons here? Imagine a day like that every second sprint.
I would say that's if someone is a really shitty planner.
Not every second sprint. Every second Friday off a sprint.
Yeah, but if every second Friday, all right, I can get that. Because I was just gonna say that some people believe that all right, we're always ahead of schedule or things of that nature. Being like, I would say that's for me that's a misalignment of resources. Like it's not just you being efficient there. It's someone isn't putting you at through your paces.
So I think that comes down to because we were working with partners with international outside the the country, there was a lot of
External-
litigation factors. So, I mean, when I was saying we were constantly delivering ahead of schedule, like they would plan a backlog for a while. And the other part was we had a proper Scrum Master. Like this guy was a Scrum Master. That was his only role. So he knew like, okay, this is your current velocity, whatever. He gave this information back to the BAs and that kind of stuff, and even the dev manager for our team. So Doug was our team manager, and then we had dev manager on top of that. And between that, they were like, okay, we want to try this initiative. We're able to still deliver well in advance, so we can do this now. We can afford to take that time to do some stuff. And we actually came up with some pretty cool things. The one dude managed to change our configuration away so that we became even faster after it was implemented. It took us from a week to implement a new partner coming on to a day. And this was just because he got this time to work on it during work hours. So that kind of stuff, like it really feeds back into the team, like, you know, being able to drive that kind of innovation. And that was another thing which I learned from there was, like, you know, taking that time to do something right, like after you know your to do it right really benefits you in the long run. Like it's really worth doing that effort because
I could not agree more. That's the backbone in all the things that I believe in when it comes to architecture and comes to all of these things, because that's the difference between having a really shitty slow moving process and having a really great one. So there are what I call backbone features, and a backbone feature is something that ties into your overall delivery capacity. It's not something like a small feature you do here or something that's going to just be shown on the page. It's something that will affect future work pretty much forever. These things have to take time because you have to do them right, because if you don't, it's going to slow down the whole company.
And I think the problem with those type of things is a lot of the time, like, it feels like, oh, we're just doing it for this one place. Let's just do it quickly and get it done.
They don't think in terms of a framework. They don't think about a bigger picture.
And I would say startups are very guilty of this.
Yes, but that is, I would argue, more because of that sensation of everything's on fire, like we need to survive the next week type of thing.
But I mean, it's putting out fires when you should try and get the source of it.
Yes, I
Like
agree.
that kind of thing. And I always, because I was at engineering for a while, and that was in a corporate environment. So that you have the time and resources.
In a corporation, yes.
In corporate, you have because
it's very rare that you don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you like performance optimization, no, throw money at it and just add more CPUs to the server. Like that's how they do performance optimization, which, in all honesty, is perfectly fine because if you have the money to do that, it's way easier to do that than spend time refactoring code to try and optimize it that way.
My number one answer to the question, Frederick, which language should I pick for scalability? And I go, pick one. Fucking pick one. Because that is exactly what it is. Because most companies, they don't use C or C++ or Go or something like that to create super optimized microservices so that they can squeeze every clock cycle out of the CPU. What they do is that they pick whatever they started with, which was made sense at the time. Usually, it's going to be one of the languages that they could find people who actually knew. They build a business, it becomes successful, and then they have so much money that, oh, we have a performance problem. Okay, let's buy more processors. That's what they do. And the companies who don't do that, such as the very few super high-end top-tier companies, they usually have a culture or a technical background that is high enough that they can actually invest in these sorts of things. And they calculate that. I mean, if you look at the cloud providers, it makes sense that if you're selling cloud solutions that you would try to squeeze every single clock cycle.
Exactly.
Because that's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah,
there's a lot of money to be saved there. For a fucking insurance company, who cares?
Exactly. that is the perfect way to look at it. If it's not your main business to get maximum CPU cycles, then don't.
No, exactly. Don't push. Try to optimize for development productivity, for time to market.
Yeah. So that was the kind of stuff I learned there, which I find
you don't teach these things. They don't teach you in school.
No, you'll never learn this.
You'll never learn it in school. Ever.
I remember my third year I did a software engineering course. Like you had to do it as part of the computer science thing. None of the stuff I learned in that course is applicable in the work. None of it, because they talked about agile and how it was. Basically, chucked the whole fucking thing out the window because it's so fucking stupid. It's I don't know why university because you're supposed to go to university.
Because the people
learn
who
the
teach
skills
are not
and
the
go to-
people who do.
No, because they're full academics. When I was doing my honors, even the honors for multimedia, like they weren't pushing you to get a job. No. They wanted you to become a researcher. Like it's. It wasn't even a subtle hint that they had towards it, because you had to do research methodologies, all this kind of stuff there, but there was no practical stuff. It's actually why I dropped out of honors, because I needed to make a decision between putting more time into work and because I was doing it after hours and putting time into doing it for honors, and I didn't want to do research. I didn't want to become a researcher. So I figured I'd rather spend
Academics
more time at work.
breathing other academics.
Yeah,
Because,
it
you
wasn't
know,
for me.
education is about more academics.
So yeah, I dropped out of honors because it was just I didn't see any worth in it.
Well, and I agree, and this is one of those reasons why quite a lot of people ask me about, okay, Frederick, should I go to a university? Should I take a boot camp? Should I be self-taught? And I kind of go, what works? What does work for? Because the thing is, I can tell you that, yeah, sure, going to a university is probably a good idea. But the problem is that you might go to a really shitty university and
Yeah.
they might not teach you anything. And then I can tell you, yeah, sure, you can go to a boot camp. But then maybe you go to a boot camp that's like 6 weeks long, and then you think that you're going to go and work for Google. It's just, or then you can be self-taught. And then I can say, that's a little bit risky sometimes because it can be hard to figure out, like, what should you learn? And then all of a sudden, I don't know that you have a friend who's been a senior fucking architect his whole life, and he's willing to just help you. So you get all these
Yeah.
tips, and then of course you're gonna learn the right stuff. That's why it's so difficult. The one thing that is really true, I would say, is that some companies have a prejudice against being self-taught or like not having an official education. Some will just say, you know what, we only hire people who have a degree or something like that.
Intellect did that.
Yes, they did that.
Yeah, and that was so. I did speak to them about
And
it.
that is a security policy that they have. Like, they just want to screen out the people who think they know programming, right? Or is it just...
No, it was actually so the company. So I was speaking to was it Yatish? I can't remember. One of the C-level guys about it, because I was just like, you know, it doesn't make sense that we do this, because I know a lot of.
So you were
programmers.
only taking on candidates who had a degree?
Yeah, if you didn't have a degree, they wouldn't even bother.
Okay.
You had to have a degree.
Even for the the boot camp, the 6 month thing?
Yeah, the boot camp is grads. It's
Okay,
a graduate
for grads.
boot camp.
Okay, cool.
It's a grad because that was the graduate program.
So no self-taught people, no boot camp
Yeah.
people. This was graduates.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even if you had worked in the industry, you needed a degree,
Okay.
which was like, and I questioned them about this.
That's interesting.
The problem was it wasn't it wasn't Intellect who had dictated this here. Well, they did, but the reason behind it wasn't because they didn't believe that people could do that. A lot of the clients wouldn't accept people without degrees, even if they had years of experience. Without a degree, the clients,
Yeah.
so they could hire people, but they couldn't place them anywhere. So it wouldn't
yeah.
really work for them. That
But
way.
then it is the reason why I was saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that, okay, your company had a different viewpoint, but because of the companies that you're actually hiring people
Yeah.
to, they have this prejudice. It's like I don't know, it's a value system that just exists within IT, and maybe it's going to go away, maybe it's not. But
I would imagine it would go away.
I hope so.
There's
Because the thing is, like, just because you have an official education, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good programmer.
no, I know plenty of guys with degrees are shit. I know plenty of shit devs who have a CS degree.
All right, let's quit this now. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
We can. This was fun. We should do it again.
Yeah, sure. Like, and here is our PO. Who
Yeah, hi.
you can say some words if you want.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm talking to, but yeah.
You're
talking to the
millions
internet.
of viewers.
Internet. Oh,
talking
is this
to-
going to go on your YouTube
Yes,
channel?
it is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna have an interview with you too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So, what were you talking about?
So.